We are on day 8, finished of the war, and day 9 starting. And y'all wanted to know all the details, but actually day 9 was really quite boring, except for Abhimanyu being incredible. So Abhimanyu is fighting with Duryodhana, and then he sends Alambasa because Abhimanyu is too good for Duryodhana. And so now it's Abhimanyu fighting with Alambasa. This happened yesterday also, right? Well, yesterday means in day 8 of the war, Alambasa was running havoc. But this bit was really nice because the 5 Pandava, the sons of the 5 Pandavas kind of also all hang out together like the Pandavas. And I guess that's because they all born to Draupadi, right? So they have that sense of belonging. But they also, like the minute Abhimanyu is in trouble, all 5 come to help Abhimanyu. And so there's this real sense of togetherness and family, even as they fight amongst the generations. And so then Yudhishthira's son, and I'm trying to learn their names, Prativindya, he was able to help Abhimanyu with this Alambasa, the Asura. And then because he's an Asura, he was able to sway the battle in his favor, and he was about to actually defeat this Prativindya, would have been death. But again, Abhimanyu comes. And when Abhimanyu is fighting with the Rakshasa, even the Rakshasa is taken back because Abhimanyu can pretty much match any missile that's fired. So everyone thought that it was only Arjuna who had all the divine weapons, but Abhimanyu has all the divine weapons. And very quickly, everyone on the battlefield has established that Abhimanyu is a second Arjuna. And when you see this, when you see how everyone's praising him, and actually they're more afraid to fight with Abhimanyu. And some battles, like some of the warriors are more afraid to deal with Abhimanyu than with even Arjuna, because Arjuna seems to be always like called away to particular, and with really big ones. And so there's times when Bhishma and Arjuna will be fighting. And actually it's incredible because everyone, when that fight is particularly good, everyone puts down their weapons and everyone watches like it's a show just between these two. And it's like a full-on war going on, but it's like this total understanding between everyone. Like, no, we need to see this. And even the person they're fighting is like, yeah, we need to see this. This battle is so good. So that happens with Arjuna quite a bit, but it also happens with Abhimanyu. Like people would be like, wait. And everyone literally stops and watches this one-on-one battle between Abhimanyu and different people. And at this point, when he wins again, then he is doing so well, like Abhimanyu is doing so well, that no other warrior on the Kaurava side is able to hold him back. And so Bhishma Pitama has to come to hold Abhimanyu back from destroying the entire Kaurava army. And so actually it's really interesting because it literally goes like in waves. Like this army is doing so well and they're going to defeat, and then somebody on this army blocks. And it's almost irritating. It's like, why did you block like this? Because you're reading about he threw this weapon and that weapon, and then it rained weapons, and then he turned the thing. They're constantly doing this. They're constantly turning the battlefield dark with the Asura of night. There was an Asura that made the whole battlefield dark so that nobody could see anything. And then Abhimanyu had the Surya Astra. So then the sun came back out. And so it's like, imagine, sometimes you see this in cartoons or like these sci-fi movies or these fantasy movies where it's dark and then it's bright and then it's dark and then it's bright. But they actually got the idea from the Mahabharata, because literally it's written like that. Like there's, the one that takes away this light, and then somebody else has the Astra, whoever has the Surya Astra. And when I was reading this, it really struck me that, everyone keeps saying Abhimanyu is a second Arjuna and praising Abhimanyu as Arjuna's son, but Abhimanyu's learned and studied and been groomed by Krishna. Because the rule, remember the rule of Draupadi was the Pandavas can marry whoever, but none of them can live in the house. The 5 Pandavas lived with only Draupadi in the house. And so whoever else was married to the Pandavas stayed in their own homes. So Subhadra had stayed with Krishna. And Abhimanyu has grown up with Krishna. And then, of course, they'd come and spend time. Subhadra kind of got away more than any other wife spending time because of who she was. And even Draupadi had a very affectionate bond as a younger sister with Subhadra by virtue of her being Krishna's younger sister. But then they got exiled. And now when they're in exile, you're not going to take the kids. And so Abhimanyu was with Krishna. And so when you're seeing his proficiency here in the battlefield, it's really Krishna's glory. Because Krishna has brought him up far more than Arjuna has brought him up, considering the last 12 years have been exile. And I think Abhimanyu visited once. Once when Krishna went to go and visit the Pandavas during exile, Abhimanyu and Subhadra went with. But at other times they didn't go. Because remember, Arjuna was often doing his tapas, and then he was in Indralok, and then he was and Krishna knew where he was. So there's no point in going and taking everyone to meet him when he wasn't even available to meet all of them. So the description of his, and I think I mentioned this last week already, it was speed and elegance. What they really praised about Abhimanyu was his elegance, like he was flexible and he was quick and so they really gave value to skill. Like, not that he won the battle, they didn't give value just to that. They gave value to the person's level of skill. And his dignity as a warrior, at one point, somebody's running away from him. I think when he was fighting, I think it was Dushashan. No, Dushashan was fighting someone else. But I think Abhimanyu was fighting, I forget who it was, but the person literally runs away. Abhimanyu lets them. Like defeated, not dead, but defeated. And so that's what keeps happening. They're not dead, but they defeated. And so the battle ends for the day and they defeated, but they're still there to fight the next day. And so the war keeps going. And so during this time, Duryodhana, Kripa, Susha, and Trijagata all fighting Arjuna. And this is another thing. Like Arjuna was always surrounded. It's not like one-on-one. There would be lots of people fighting Arjuna and so he was, and the only time he would run to rescue anyone was when it was Yudhishthira that was in trouble, which is what's going to happen now. So day 9, Bhishma decides. So remember, this was the 5 arrows incident. So the morning when Bhishma wakes up and says, "Where's my 5 arrows?" to Duryodhana, because he had done his tapas. So the night before, if you all remember, I'm just going to do a very quick recap. The night before, Duryodhana does this whole spiel about you don't love me, you love only the Pandavas, you are too soft with them, you're letting them win the war, you had made a promise to Hastinapur, I'm the king of Hastinapur, you had two grandsons, my father is equally your grandson as their father is, and I'm equally your grandson, but you don't favor me. And he does this whole rant. And in the beginning, Bhishma tries to explain using logic, but he can see that Duryodhana is just like, he's so upset. Like he's losing the war, he's losing the kingdom, he's losing his brothers day by day to Bhim. He's seeing that, this is turning out to be a horrendous situation. He thought he'll just get the kingdom and be able to squish the Pandavas in no time, but he's realized he can't. And so he was really, really upset. And so Bhishmacharya, out of compassion to him, says, I vow that I will kill them tomorrow. And then he made those 5 arrows, but those 5 arrows were taken away. So he tells Duryodhana that, it seems that I won't be able to keep your promise because I cannot create another 5 arrows like that. But I vow to you that I will give it my all, and nothing else. I will target Arjuna, and if I kill him and him alone, then the war will anyways be yours. And this, and this is the other thing about Bhishma, that when he gives his word, he keeps it. And like I said, he would like to play with that, because he knew he had that power. But also, in the sense that there is affection to Duryodhana, and he wants to be able to show Duryodhana that he has been loved. So why are you being like this? Because somehow always in Duryodhana's head. And it's interesting that when we lack worth, when we feel we lack worth, it doesn't matter who says what, and it doesn't matter how much we accomplish, we still continue to feel we lack worth. And that's actually the most interesting thing about self-esteem. Because if I lack worth because, maybe I don't have enough of a bank balance, I don't earn enough, and then the person earns that much. Maybe that person earns way more, makes it into the top 10 richest people of the world. Their sense of worth doesn't change. Or even people who have had plastic surgery because they feel if they look better, they'll feel better. They have the plastic surgery and their sense of worth doesn't change. And so here we see Duryodhana, and he's gotten the kingdom. He's ruled the kingdom for so many years. He's gotten everything he's wanted. His father dotes on him. He's got these brothers who support him. He's got this friend like Radheya. He's got Bhishmacharya fighting on his behalf, but he doesn't feel it's enough. And then when people have a good sense of worth, they don't need to even accomplish much. They just good. And it's so much more about what I believe rather than what exists. And so you really see this in Duryodhana, because just nothing's enough. And it's because he believes that Yudhishthira is better than him. It's not even other people believing that Yudhishthira is better than him. Of course, he's heard it from 300 million people, but he himself believes Yudhishthira is better than him. And so then there's no way he's ever going to feel it's enough, because until he's Yudhishthira, which he doesn't want to be, he doesn't want to actually even strive to be anything like Yudhishthira. He just wants to be better without doing the work. And then this is why this war is being fought. Because when we have this kind of a mindset where we want something without having to do the work, when we unreasonable in our understanding, and so selfish and so single-pointed in our selfishness, the amount of people we hurt, like the amount of people that die in this war. And so for us, we might be thinking, we're not fighting any war. Who are we hurting? We're not. But we can be so selfish about how we use resources, whether it be things like electricity or clothes or makeup or books or computers or gadgets. And we think, yeah, so what? I have the money, I can use it. People will even say that to me. Yeah, so what? I have the money, I should be able to enjoy it. But how many hundreds of people work to create that resource, and then we just discard it? And how many people could have used that resource, but we didn't use it well, and we just discarded it. And so ripple effects of our actions when we are single-pointedly selfish is in terms of our immediate relationships. It will definitely appear in our immediate relationships, but it also appears in the ripple effect of the ways of the society functions. So Duryodhana has this sense of he's not enough. And so nothing is ever enough for him. Doesn't matter who does, it's not enough. Because actually every single day, Bhishma has fought amazingly. Like Bhishma is a man of his word, he's true, he's got integrity. If he said he's going to fight, and he's going to do a really good job. And he's been doing a good job. Yeah. And then that night when Duryodhana is like, you're not doing it, you just don't have your heart into it. And so what pinches him is that, how can you not see? And I think that's true for so many loved ones, right? Loved ones who will do so much, and then the person they love turns around and says, you don't care, you don't. And it's like, ouch. But the ouch isn't even like that you saying this. It's like, you believe it. Like, how am I going to get through to you if you can't even see how much I'm doing? And so interesting that we'll only see what we believe. And so we don't see the world at all. We're seeing only what we believe, because Bhishma really was doing a great job. So this day 9, Bhishma gives his word and he keeps it. And so he goes straight for Yudhishthira. Why does he go straight for Yudhishthira? It's the only way to get Arjuna. But also, when you're fighting a war, you should go for the king. Defeat the king, the war's over. So Bhishma, like I said, as a warrior, he knew what he was doing. And, he would, I'm not even going into those details because who remembers all the names, but he would shout out a command, which would be a name, which would be a formation of an army. And then he'd shout out name, and position, and the whole army would take that shape. And so the army would take the shape of a hawk, like swooning into the enemy. And then he'd shout out another command, name, position. And the whole army would change into, like a fist punching. I'm making that up. But, the different formations. The hawk one formation I did read. The fist, I can't remember the other formations they made. But they made all these fun. And Bhishma had that complete alertness of mind as a warrior to... not that he is fighting this battle and that's it. He knew what was going on. He would arrange the whole army in the formation and then they'd attack. So he went straight for Yudhishthira. Now, the way in which Yudhishthira is protected is so beautiful, because the Pandavas don't think twice. Like if it means saving Yudhishthira at the cost of their lives, like just done. And it didn't matter who was nearby, they would all just like shield Yudhishthira. Now Bhishma is such a proficient warrior that it took something like 7 of them to shield Yudhishthira from Bhishma. So the list, I think, is Drishtadyumna, Satyaki, Shikandi, Abhimanyu, the 5 Pandava sons. All of them, and Bhishma still running havoc, targeting Yudhishthira. Then Bhim comes, and Bhim, actually, I haven't given Bhim enough credit. Bhim is a force. Bhim is such a force in the Pandava army. He has done maximum perishing of the Kaurava army to date is Bhim. Because, they all knew Arjuna was a threat, and so they would constantly engage him, and so he was stuck in getting out of their traps. Whereas Bhim didn't allow them to trap him. He was just fierce. And then lastly, Arjuna comes to fight against this. And at this point, interesting, because Bhim is running havoc against the Kaurava army, and Bhishma is running havoc against the Pandava army, and people are actually dying. You can hear statements being said where Duryodhana is being cursed. So all these warriors are cursing Duryodhana for his selfishness and the reason for this battle to be fought. They're not cursing Arjuna and Yudhishthira. They're cursing Duryodhana. And so many of them are making these comments that you can actually hear it at this point in time. Duryodhana hears it at this point. And what's Duryodhana's reaction? Duryodhana screams out to Bhishmacharya, don't listen to them. You have to keep your promise to me. So Duryodhana is fighting whoever he's fighting, but Bhishma goes. And this is another time where Bhishma is shooting so many arrows that one, people are being killed, but two, no one can fight. Like just no one else can fight. He's been described here worse than the Devatas, worse than Yama, worse than. And you have to remember who Bhishma is now. Like just like Abhimanyu was trained by Krishna, and so you know his glory and his strength and his level of skill will be because it's Krishna himself that's trained him. Bhishma was trained by Brihaspati and Parshuram. Brihaspati is the guru of the heavens, of the Devatas. And Parshuram is an avatar, equal to Krishna. Just as Krishna is an avatar, Parshuram was an avatar. But there's a difference. Well, kind of. Parshuram's single most purpose of taking avatar was to rid the world of evil rulers. So all he did was kill Kshatriyas. So his skill at warfare was phenomenal. And he was the one who trained Bhishmacharya. And not only that, Bhishma lived in the heavens with his mother for 16 years of his life, but time in heaven moves way slower than earth time. So 16 years of heaven time is like, for us, that's way more. And so how much time he had there learning and mastering, and that sense of single pointedness and adherence to Dharma, and all of that is very, very high there. And so he's Tapasyacharya. And Arjuna's looking at Bhishmacharya fighting, and Arjuna's admiring. And this is another beautiful thing. Not only Arjuna, but you'll see it in Abhimanyu will admire. Like when the battle's being fought, they'll actually even say it to their opponent. That, that it's so your skill is amazing. Bhishma does. Bhishma, when he's fighting also, he would praise, especially Abhimanyu. But he praised even Arjuna. Like, no one but my Arjuna could shoot so fast. No one but my Arjuna has such skill. And he would use phrases while they were fighting. But you never see this with the others. You never see this with Duryodhana, Dushashan, Shakuni. You never see praise of the skill of the warrior. Dronacharya, yes, but not to their face. Dronacharya would praise whoever to his son, mainly only to his son. But here you see this. The Pandavas, when they're engaging in a battle and the person's got skill, they totally acknowledge that person. And so, even that sense of respect for the other person as a warrior. Like, I'm going to kill you, it's a war, but they still, this is Kshatriya Dharma. It's like, it's not personal. I'm not killing you. I have to fight this war for Dharma, for my kingdom. It's my duty. I am doing my duty. But you as a person, I can appreciate, I can praise, I can value, I can respect. And so to even be killed by such a person, this is why it is said that they would attain heaven when they die, because they're doing it as it's not out, I hate you, I'm killing you, right? Which is very much Duryodhana. And a little bit Bhim also, but Bhim still had lots of good virtues underneath all of that. So Arjuna, when he starts appreciating how beautifully Bhishma is fighting, and really his power is, and he can't die. He cannot die until he wills it to die. So he can be as fierce as he wants to. And so it's like a sight to behold. And so I guess when you have that skill and you see somebody else who is as skillful, you can admire it at a different level. And so Arjuna is kind of sitting there thinking, wow, my grandfather's so awesome. And not giving his all. He's protected Yudhishthira. but he doesn't really do that much to protect everyone else. And then Krishna gets so angry. And this has happened already, but I told you it happens about 3 times in the whole Mahabharata. He gets so annoyed and he said, if you're not going to do your duty, then I am going to do it. And he jumps down from the chariot, he picks up a wheel, and the wheel in his hand turns into a Sudarshan Chakra, and he goes charging towards Bhishmacharya. Pin drop silence in the battlefield. Everyone freezes the minute Krishna jumps down the chariot because everybody wants to see this scene. Hanuman sitting on the chariot, on the, where the flag is? Where the flag is connected in the whole, Hanuman sitting there. He's sitting very small on top of Arjuna's chariot. Not because of Arjuna, because of Krishna. He's sitting on the chariot. So Hanuman has been like doing this the whole war. Even though Bhishma is such an amazing fighter, Abhimanyu is such Hanuman thinks the war is very boring compared to what the war was between Ram and Ravana. Because the monkeys threw stones, and they hit their tails, and all this kind of stuff happened during the Ravana war. So, but now Krishna jumped down from his chariot and he picked up the wheel. And so Hanuman suddenly does this, like he leans forward with his eyes wide open, like, yes, now we're going to see some action. And immediately Arjuna also jumps down, goes running towards Krishna and starts crying. And Krishna said, but I can't trust you because you're not doing your job, and I'm not going to watch my devotees just all perish like this because you sitting there, too weak to do what you promised to do. And you had promised. Arjuna had promised to kill Bhishma when, so you have to go all the way back to when they were in hiding. And then that one incident where the cows were stolen and Arjuna as Vrindala goes and he fights the war and then they all come back. Do you all remember this incident? Just when they were in hiding and he's still Vrindala. Right, and he fought as Bralindala, the war, and then he comes back, and then they disrobe and they say who they are. They come out of hiding. We are the Pandavas. And then there were a few days where they were having meetings in the court of Virat. The Virat is here in the war, fighting with the Pandavas, but because they had lived in his kingdom. And Virat is like, are you sure you can win this war? At that point, before even any negotiation started, etc., Arjuna takes a vow that he will kill whoever sides the Kauravas, including, and he even says, Bhishmacharya and Dronacharya. And he says this on his own accord. Nobody has asked him to say it. He himself, as a Kshatriya, knowing his duty, says, if they are my opponents, I will kill them, and I vow I will. So he's taken a vow specifically that he will kill them. And then when Krishna said, last time Krishna jumped down and did this, he vowed to Krishna, I will defeat him for you. You do not have to pick up a weapon. I will do this. Don't break your promise. Don't make me the reason why you break the promise. I vow to you, I will fight with all my might. Krishna looks at him and said, your vows are useless. Like, you're not doing anything. And so, if you're going to be incompetent, I'll just do it. And then I've already spoken about this. And if we are incompetent, or if we are lazy, if we let tamas get the better of us, if we get distracted, the Lord will just do what he needs to do. And our opportunity for seva, our opportunity to be held in his hands and to be shaped in the vision that he wants us to be shaped will be lost. And so that importance of us being available, and that importance of us, doesn't matter how hard it is. We shy away from struggle or challenge, but actually that's where growth happens, always. Right? And we see it so clearly in the world of exercise. Like, we push yourself and you get stronger, but then in life we shy away so quickly at the slightest challenge, at the slightest setback. So, and Arjuna is really, he didn't. This whole time Arjuna never shied away. Arjuna always rose to the challenge. Like, he could have stayed because Yudhishthira said, don't go in exile, it's okay, I forgive you. But he still went. And there was other times when he didn't have to do tapas, but he would still do tapas. He could have had Urvashi and just enjoy it, but he chose to be, no, it's respect. So Arjuna is not, but then suddenly here. And so he's not the type to not listen to Krishna because he loves Krishna so much. And then this is the power of attachment. His attachment to Bhishma is, he's not doing what he vowed to do. He's not listening to Krishna, who he adores, loves, respects. He's not living up to his potential, which is unlike him. Why? Just because of this one attachment to Bhishmacharya. And really the attachment is more to Bhishmacharya, because when it comes to Dronacharya, even though there's lots of love and respect for Dronacharya, he doesn't have that same conflict. Or maybe he overcame it with Bhishmacharya, and so he was able to do it easier with Dronacharya. But it's day 9 of the war. Like, he's dragged this out now for 9 days. Why? Attachment. Like, he's capable, he's confident, it's him. It's true to who he is to be able to do it. He did it when he had to fight for Virat. But here, he's dilly-dallying, and it's just attachment. Like, we have so much potential, and then why don't we reach our potential? Only 2 things why we don't reach our potential: fear, attachment. And then this is true even for, we have the potential for moksha. Each and every one of us have the potential for moksha. Why aren't we getting moksha? Attachment. It's like, and when you see it with Arjuna, like, so. So he gets back on here to his chariot. By this stage, the day has really, what's the day? What's the word? Aged. It's towards the end. It's the evening. So he shoots, he fights, he does, but the day is already over. So he doesn't really get a chance to. And then that evening in Yudhishthira's tent, because they would meet, right? Every evening they would meet, this tent, that tent, and always Yudhishthira would have Krishna there. And if Krishna didn't come to Yudhishthira would go and find Krishna. But Krishna this is also, when you read the Mahabharata, Krishna's karma yoga, like nobody else practiced karma yoga just quite as well as Krishna. Krishna is here as a servant. He's a chariot driver for Arjuna. He's not here as a king, and so Yudhishthira is the king, and he is chariot driver. So you can't make Yudhishthira come look for you. So he would make sure he would go and find Yudhishthira, and that's it. That total, like, when we talk about humility, Krishna had no qualms in being a chariot driver, like 0. He could be and to the extent where nobody had to come find him and give him importance. He totally went. So Yudhishthira tells all of them are sitting there. All the 5 brothers are sitting there. Drishtadyumna is sitting there. Like the basically your inner circle is sitting there. That if we don't kill Bhishma, the war will never end. And really, it's time. And I don't know how we're going to do it, but we have to figure out how to do it tonight. And it has to be done tomorrow. Now, this is Yudhishthira saying this, huh? And then Krishna says, he speaks for quite a length of time, but basically Krishna says, I'll do it. Right? I can do it. And I have this skill, and I have this skill, and I have this skill, and it's really cute. And Yudhishthira is looking at Krishna like, but I know you have the skills. You don't have to tell me. Like, don't make me feel like that. It's like, you have more skill here than anyone else, Krishna. But Krishna, you shouldn't be the one to do it. Why? You took a vow not to fight. 2, Arjuna took a vow to kill him. So Krishna says, that's why I haven't done it yet. Looks at Arjuna like, Can you please stop being useless? And then Arjuna said, okay, but I really gave it my best today. And he's really powerful. Like, you know, even if I am giving it my best, he's really powerful. So Yudhishthira says yes, which is why we need to know how to destroy him. And there's only one person who can tell us. And so they start taking off their armor and they cross the battlefield. And, you know, I'm so impressed at how brave Yudhishthira is while he's doing this. Yudhishthira's heart, which is so soft, he's just doing what has to be done. And here too, you see how much incredible objective insight Yudhishthira has. Hundreds of people are being killed. This has to be done. It's for the greater good. And so now he's clear and he doesn't let his emotions get in the way. And this is what's so incredibly phenomenal about Yudhishthira. Draupadi got insulted. It was for the greater good. If we can avoid the war, he won't let emotions get in the way. Bhim says something. Bhim is absolutely most favorite person on this planet. He won't let emotions get in the way. Nor does he stop loving Bhim, nor did he stop loving Bhishma, nor did he stop loving Draupadi. Yeah. But that incredible objectivity that Yudhishthira had and his incredible strength to be able to stay steadfast in that objectivity. So he walks across the battlefield to Bhishma Pitama's tent, knowing that he's going to ask the man, how do I kill you? And he does it with his head held high. I mean, of course, he's feeling terrible. And this is Yudhishthira. And so they walk into the tent, and the smile on Bhishma Pitama's face when they walk into the tent, like it just really doesn't matter that the war is going on. Family reunion, he's so happy to see them. He hugs each one. And so this is also this really sweet scene where, you know, we see it a lot of times with devotees and the Lord. It's like they trying to bow down to Bhishma Pitama, and it's like Bhishma Pitama is trying to get them to stand up and to hug them. And then they all sit, and Yudhishthira looks at Bhishma Pitama and says, you already know why I've come. And Yudhishthira says, when I came to you before the war started, you blessed me, may I be victorious. Your words have to come true. Please tell me how I can be victorious. So even the way he phrases it, what's he saying? We can't win this war without killing you. How do I kill you? But what does he say? You blessed me to be victorious. Now you tell me how I can be. And so Bhishma says, thank you, Yudhishthira. Thank you for coming here today. Thank you for asking me this question. Thank you for putting me out of my misery. And so you see even this wonderful, this is why Bhishma Pitama is praised. Because the whole time Krishna is silent, just watching everything. And Bhishma Pitama says there's this whole list he gives of times when he won't fight. So one, firstly, let me say in order. I have to try and remember everything. Sometimes there's so many details. Bhishma Pitama says, as long as I am holding my weapons, nobody can defeat me. You have to get me to put down my weapons. The only time I will put down my weapon is If somebody is running away from the battlefield was one of them. If somebody was unarmed or injured, I think was one of them. If they weren't wearing protective armor was one of them. If it is a woman or a child standing in front of him was one of them. I think there were 5, and I can't remember what the other one was. And so then Yudhishthira is still listening, thinking like, which one are we going to have to do and how are we going to do that? But he doesn't even have to think, because Bhishma tells him, Shikandi, who is Drupada's son, was Amba, reincarnated with the sole purpose of killing Bhishma Pitama. So we're going to pause here in the story. I'm just going to do a super quick recap. When Vichitraveer needed to get married, he wasn't a robust, dynamic prince. And so Bhishma Pitama went on his behalf to the Swayamvar and picked up 3 princesses, Ambika, Ambalika, and Amba. And Ambika and Ambalika were very happy to marry Vichitraveer. In fact, they were thrilled that they were going to be princesses of Hastinapur. Amba had already fallen in love with somebody and was really angry that Bhishma Pitama picked her up and brought her here and said, I want to go back to him. And so Bhishma Pitama said, oh, fine, of course, you're most welcome. I'm sorry, I didn't know. You should have said something then. In fact, you should have said something when he came to fight for you. I would have happily let you go, because I forget his name. He had come to fight for Amba and she stood there watching, and at the time she should have said, I really like him, let me just go to him, and Bhishma would have happily let her go. But at that time she didn't say anything, and so now she's here in Hastinapur and now she's saying she wants to go back. Anyway, she goes back. That guy says, no, I won't have you because you've been won and you've been taken by Bhishma, so I'm not going to, I'll be the laughing stock of all the kings. Da, 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 da. So now she is really angry that she got rejected by the person she loved. But we all do this to some extent. The person we love cannot be at fault, so we blame somebody else. And so who does she blame? Bhishma. And again, she's not saying her faults. She could have spoken on the spot itself. It was her Swayamvar. She had every right to say, no, I don't want to go with you. She could have said that right there and then. When he came to fight to win her, she could have said it then also, but she didn't. And I mean, I guess it's intense. I'm sure lots of us wouldn't be in the right presence of mind, like we're getting swept away, this person's fighting, like what's going on. It takes a while sometimes for all of us to, it's maybe not completely her fault because she's overwhelmed, but there is contribution here that she wasn't present enough to be able to speak for herself. And she did, she's able to speak for herself later on. So why didn't she speak for herself earlier, kind of thing. So we all, sometimes things happen and so many people have contributed it to happening, but we can't see all of that, right? She sees only Bhishma. And so she wants to kill him now because she said, marry me. And he said, no. Vichitraveer was like, no, because you love the other guy, I don't want to marry you, plus I already have 2, so no. And so she dedicated her whole life to doing tapas to be able to kill Bhishmacharya. And we had spoken about this earlier, so I'm not going to go into it too much there. She died because you can't kill Bhishma, and it doesn't matter how much tapas you do, because he's got this boon. She's born again. Now I forget, it's a little bit complicated how it would happen. But basically, she's now Drupada's son. And she had worn the garland that was meant to bless whoever wears the garland is the person that will kill Bhishma. She puts the garland on herself. But she remembers everything. I mean, he remembers everything from her previous life and is fighting this war for the sole purpose of attacking Bhishmacharya. Bhishma also remembers everything. And in one of the interpretations of the Mahabharata, there's like this kind of insinuation that there's this romance between them, because love is nothing but, hate is nothing but love. So she hated him, hated him, hated him, hated him, and then you end up loving. He didn't hate her, but Bhishma does have compassion, and so he did feel bad that she had to go through all of that. But it's not in proper Mahabharata, there's no sentiment of romance. In proper Mahabharata, when the scene is being fought, it's really Bhishma's love for Arjuna that you see more than Shikandi's presence mattering at all. Although it has been written that as though, like he's so happy to be able to give her what she finally wanted. There is that version that's written, which I guess romantic people would like, but I think I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he was that romantic. I think his head was too much do your duty, that it didn't really quite feature. So he says, Shikandi is in your army, and if she is standing in front of me, and he uses she, so I will use she, because he will put down the weapons if he's standing in front of her, woman or child. So he refers to her as she. Right now, she's in a male body. So each of the Pandavas bow down to Bhishmacharya before leaving. And before leaving, they talk about old times and happy moments, and Bhishmacharya is telling them about how proud he is of how this one fought this battle, and because he's so aware on the battlefield of what's going on, right? And so when Bhim did this, and when Nakula did this, when Sahadev, he was so present. He knew all the things that were happening, and he spent time praising each one, and then he stopped and he said, "But the best, the best is Abhimanyu." Like he doesn't even say the best is Arjuna, and he's just praising Abhimanyu. And then he even says to Krishna that I know no matter what I do, you will be able to find a way to save your devotees. So save me also. And I know you'll find a way to do so. And so when they're leaving, each one bow down, touch his feet, because this is basically the last time they're going to see him. Tomorrow is going to be Bhishma Pitama's end. And Krishna also bows down. This is where you see Krishna play the role of Sevak so beautifully. Like the Lord will happily bow to devotees. And where does our pride come from? Like how can our egos be so strong that we have a little fight with someone and we don't want to budge? And yeah, the Lord can bow down. The Lord himself can bow down. And so we've been seeing, right, this whole play. Every time Bhishma Pitama comes up with this plan, today I'll do this, so we have to see how Krishna has to defeat it. Today I'll see if I can make Krishna break his vow. Today I can. And so there's this beautiful joy that when the two of them meet each other, it's like there's this incredible sense of banter and playfulness between Bhishma Pitama and Krishna. And in fact, not so much with Arjuna and Krishna. This banter and playfulness is between Bhishma Pitama and Krishna. maximum playfulness in a devotee that you see in the Mahabharata is Bhishma Pitama, because he's like, okay, I'm going to make sure you pick up a weapon. Okay, I'm gonna make these 5 arrows that kills the Pandavas. Let's see how you get rid of them. Okay, I'm going to shoot so many arrows. I'm going to see how. Even earlier in the day, when he shot so many arrows, he like created this whole kind of rain effect of all the arrows that you couldn't even see Krishna. Like he had covered Krishna in arrows, and then he's kind of saying, okay, now let's see what you're going to do. How are you going to get rid of me? How are you going to get out of this? And so there was this, and Krishna can't unless he picks up an arrow. But of course, Arjuna had to up his game and protect Krishna from all those arrows. And so all of those small things have been going on throughout these 9 days. And now they're walking back, and Arjuna tells Krishna, this it's not right to have to kill him. Like again. But this time Krishna doesn't mince words. Krishna says, if you don't, I will. So you know your duty, you decide what you're going to do. And so now Arjuna knows there's no out, because there was no way he would make Krishna break his vow. But again, he curses Duryodhana that he has to kill such an amazing soul. Even though he was always going to have to. There's no other way to win the war. This Duryodhana stubbornness. Yeah. And Bhishmacharya then reflects when they're gone that how beautiful are these Pandavas. And he even thinks to himself, right now, if I told them to stop the war, they would have stopped it. Why couldn't Duryodhana be like that? He even has this thought. And then the next day, in the actual Mahabharata, this goes on for a very, very long time. But it's really too painful. Because Bhishma Pitama is this incredible warrior. They bring Shikandi, they put him there. The entire Kaurava army tries to protect Bhishma Pitama. Like Duryodhana is frantic. We have to protect Bhishma Pitama. And he keeps saying, if we lose him, we lose the war. If we lose him, we lose the war. And every single warrior is trying to defend Bhishma Pitama. But that day, Arjuna fought. He really fought. And then every person that came in front of him did not stand a chance. And everyone behind Arjuna, like the minute that Arjuna would kind of like throw them to the side to go back to be the minute they were thrown to the side, someone would take and like you, so you can't go back. So, either Drishtadyumnu or Satyaki or the Pandava sons or Abhimanyu or Bhim or like, so like, no. So this was really like, usually there's battle. But on day 10, it was Arjuna, Bhishma, and people tried to come in between. And it took very long because people really did try to intervene, but Arjuna would just be able to defeat them. And so now it was, they head on. Shikandi and Bhishmacharya's chariot are facing each other now. And still, Bhishma tries to fight this way, not Shikandi, but fight the people around, but not fight her. But Arjuna stood literally behind her and started fighting. So he tried to fight Arjuna without fighting her, but it wouldn't work because he was standing right behind. And so she does shoot a few arrows and they do pierce him. But it's not that which makes Bhishma fall. So finally, Dronacharya says to his son that the omens are really bad. I'm afraid Bhishma Pitama's time has come. And so they try once again with full force, Dronacharya and his son, Ashwatthama. And so now Dronacharya is a force in himself, but Arjuna's focused today, thank God. So finally, Bhishma Pitama puts his arrow down. And Arjuna closes his eyes because he's crying. And he can't see because there's so many tears falling from his eyes. But fortunately for Arjuna, he doesn't need to see. He can shoot without being able to see. That was his strength for many, many years already. So, not a newly developed strength. And so he keeps shooting and shooting and shooting. And there is hundreds of arrows that go through Bhishma Pitama. And what makes Bhishma Pitama fall is the weight of those arrows in his body. It's not even the arrows that make him fall. The arrows pierce him, but he's still able to stand. But then there's so many arrows on his body, and they've gone so far through him that the weight of all that metal from the tips of the arrow, gravity gives in and he falls. And the entire battlefield has been frozen, watching Arjuna shoot hundreds of arrows on Bhishma Pitama. Duryodhana can't believe it's happened. He's in a complete state of shock. And everyone else, even though there's shock, there's just more grief. And it's not just the Kaurava side. Every single person on the Pandava side has also put down their weapons. And it's like that the whole battlefield bows down to Bhishma. And there's just so much sadness. There's just so much sadness on every single person's heart, because there isn't a soul on that battlefield that didn't know how glorious a soldier, glorious a person Bhishma Pitama was, and who had lived such a life of sacrifice and service. And then two very significant things happen. They carry him to one side of the battle. Three things that happen. So that, because he hasn't died. So he's still alive. He just now is filled with arrows and cannot even stand up. So the Devatas appear when this happens. And the Devatas are like, how can the glorious Bhishma Pitama die in Dakshineshwara? Dakshineshwara is basically, now I might get the details of this wrong, but the earth is tilted on an axis, which means there's 6 months of the year where the northern hemisphere gets a lot more light, and 6 months of the year where the southern hemisphere gets light, which is why we have shorter days and longer nights in winter and longer days and shorter nights in summer. And so basically the shorter days and longer nights is Dakshineshwara, which is the 6 months. And then longer days and shorter nights is Uttarayana. And that starts on the 14th of January in the northern hemisphere. India is in the northern hemisphere. And so Uttarayana starts in 14th of January. And so right now when he's died, he's shot, it's December sometime. So it's during the winter solstice. And it's considered more auspicious to die in Uttarayana because basically the idea is you go to the light. So you die in light, you go to light. Of course, that's all metaphysical. It's not actual. But for someone like Bhishmacharya, he can control things. And so he says to the Devatas, I have fallen, I have not died. I will die in Uttarayana. Because he can choose when he dies. So even now when he's so injured, he cannot die until he chooses to. And so that will come at the later after the Mahabharata, the war is over. That's a whole section, which is famously known for Vishnu Sahasranam. So we'll touch on that a little bit later, but for now we'll stick to the war. Then the second thing that's happened is he gets thirsty. I mean, I guess he has fought the whole day. Normal thing would be to go and have dinner and to unwind, but he's on this arrows and his head is hanging because the arrows are all from his shoulders to his feet and there's no support for his head. So they try to bring pillows, Duryodhana and all of them try to bring pillows to make him comfortable. And he says, no, go and get me Arjuna. And so they run across, they get Arjuna from the tent, they come to the tent. Arjuna comes, all of them come. But Bhishma Pitama has called me. And Bhishma Pitama says, Arjuna, you've given me this bed of arrows. Now you give me the pillow. And he shoots 3 arrows, like what's it called? Topi? I guess like a tripod, but ulta. So there's space for his head to rest. And then he says, Arjuna, I'm thirsty. How he knew to do this. This is why he's no ordinary person. Arjuna immediately takes an arrow from his quiver, chants a mantra, shoots it into the ground. Where the arrow lands, a spring of water goes directly into Bhishma Pitama's mouth. Enough for him to drink and then stops. At that point, Bhishma Pitama looks at Duryodhana and says, there is only 2 people who know that mantra. The Lord himself and Arjuna. Duryodhana, let me be the only casualty of this war. Give the kingdom back to Yudhishthira. With my fall, the Kauravas cannot win. He tries. He tries. But even as he's saying it, he knows Duryodhana wants. Yudhishthira and Arjuna, all of them are like, maybe this grief of seeing Bhishmacharya fall, maybe this grief of seeing him lying here on the bed of arrows, maybe seeing that everything that they have said has come true, maybe Duryodhana will listen. Instead, Duryodhana goes to find the one person that he thinks loves him, karma. And so we've seen that Bhishma really tried. Like I said last week, it's only sad stories now. And at this point we are in, day 10 of the war is over, and Bhishma Pitama has fallen. And I think I can end with, when Sanjaya tells this to the Thrashtra in the palace, the Thrashtra's grief is incredible. Everyone's grief is incredible, but Dhritarashtra's grief. And he keeps saying, this is my fault. And it is. When we have to live with the decisions we make. It's one of the hardest things when we don't make good decisions. And then we have to live with those decisions. And that's why Yudhishthira is such a glorious character in the Mahabharata. Because he's able to live so beautifully with the decisions that he made. There's everyone else, including Bhishma, and with moments when he didn't make such good decisions. He regrets the game of dice. He regrets not noticing Duryodhana's jealousy earlier. Regret, probably our worst enemy. Any questions?
Rakshasic qualities, and one of them was that we're doubting God's existence. So then we have mentioned
Rakshasic quality of doubting God's existence. Being ignorant in who God is or how to find him isn't Rakshasic. I don't know if there's a God, isn't Rakshasic. Maybe I just don't know how, where, what isn't Rakshasic. But when I can see that there is a higher intelligence, and then I think my power is more powerful than that higher intelligence, that's Rakshasic. And I think I can assert my will against the will of the greater good, that's Rakshasic. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukha bhag bhavet, asato ma sadgamaya, mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Hari Om.